Dr. Paul Mason, warnings about dietary guidelines and the destruction of our topsoil.
We need removal of commercial interest from our food guidelines. People are under the misconception that the dietary guidelines are formulated based on food that's healthy. And that simply is not the fact. There's a whole lot of other commercial interests and lobbying interests that feed into that, including the food that's currently available, the food supply that, if everybody overnight went on a healthy diet, there would be food shortages because there's simply not enough healthy food around. So all of these kind of interests actually play into the advice that the governments around the world give their populations on what to eat. So people should not be under the misconception that the dietary guidelines are what is healthy, because they're not. They're absolutely not. And if you read the fine print, they say, well, these guidelines apply to people that are healthy. So if we take the American population, there was a national survey that found that based on 5 markers of metabolic health, only 12% of US adults are healthy. Think about that, 12%. So by definition, the dietary guidelines in America only apply to 12% of the population. There's something else even more important that we as humanity are slumbering into, and that's the environmental destruction of topsoil. The problem with agriculture is that every time you take a plow to soil, you expose trillions of bacteria to the sun, to the wind. We basically denude the soil. There's no surer way to turn soil into dirt than to plow it. And unfortunately, this is a finite resource. Ruminant-based agriculture can actually regenerate soil, while plowing it actually denudes it. And we are going to reach a point where topsoil is completely denuded and we can no longer produce food. If we have no topsoil, it doesn't matter if you're a vegan or a carnivore, there is no food. Now, if you have grazing ruminant animals, they will actually feed on the grass. So the grass is converting energy from the sun, photosynthesis, into cellulose and providing nutrition. The cow's eating the grass. The cow is then fertilizing it with manure and also with water, with urine. So when people talk about the amount of water that a cow drinks as it being waste, that's completely and utterly illogical because it doesn't stay in the cow. It actually then irrigates the field that they're on. Some of the grass that they're eating, the root system dies, and that also contributes to the biomass of soil. And over time, the thickness of soil will actually grow. This is what ruminants do. They actually grow soil. Whereas when you take a plow to it, you destroy soil. And this is actually a real cause of concern for me because it might not be in our lifetimes, but it's not that far away. I suspect we're going to start seeing problems of the soil being denuded, at least in the next generation.
We need removal of commercial interests from our food guidelines. The guidelines are not formulated on foods that are healthy. Get rid of commercial interests. It is a misconception that the dietary guidelines are what is healthy. They are developed only for healthy people. In a recent national survey, it showed that on 5 markers of metabolic health, only 12% of U.S. adults are healthy. So the guidelines only apply to these 12%. Environmental destruction of topsoil. Every time soil is plowed, trillions of bacteria are exposed to the sun and wind. We basically denude the soil. Soil is a finite resource, but ruminant-based agriculture can actually regenerate soil. If we have no topsoil, it doesn't matter if we're vegan or carnivore. There is no food. Grazing ruminant animals are the key. Cows eat grass. This is converted into nutrition. Then they fertilize the ground with manure. The water they drink is not wasted. It irrigates the ground as urine. Over time, the thickness of grass grows.